Welcome back to another episode of Valuable Coins, where we dive deep into the world of numismatics, uncovering the most valuable and unique coins in the market today. If you're a coin enthusiast, collector, or simply interested in the incredible value of rare coins, you're in the right place. In today's video, we will explore two of the most fascinating and expensive United States coins currently circulating the auction market. First up, in this video, we will take a closer look at one of the most famous coins in all of American history. The 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny with the S Mint mark. Struck at the San Francisco Mint, this coin is not only collectible because of its age and history, but also because of the unusual material it was made from. For one single year, the United States Mint produced pennies made of steel coated with zinc instead of the usual copper. That makes the 1943 steel cent a fascinating piece. And the example we are focusing on today is in very fine condition, though it does have some scratches. Even with the scratches, this coin has a unique story to tell and still holds a certain amount of value in today's market. To understand the 1943 steel penny, we need to go back to the middle of World War II. During the war, copper was a critical material needed for making ammunition, shell casings, and other military equipment. The government decided to conserve copper for the war effort, so in 1943, the Mint made a dramatic change. Instead of using copper for the 1-cent coin, they switched to zinc-coated steel. This gave the penny a shiny, silvery appearance that looked almost like a dime when it was new. People at the time immediately noticed the change, and the 1943 steel cent became one of the most talked about coins in circulation. The coin's design remained the same as other wheat pennies. On the obverse, we see the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, facing right, with "In God We Trust" at the top, "Liberty" to the left, and the date 1943 to the right. Just below the date is the small letter S, indicating that this coin was minted in San Francisco. On the reverse, the two wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum at the top. The design itself was unchanged, but the new steel composition made the coin look very different. The San Francisco Mint struck a little over 191 million steel cents in 1943. That is a large number, but it was actually fewer than the Philadelphia and Denver mints produced, which means the 1943S is somewhat scarcer than the others, though still not rare. Because so many were saved by collectors and the public, steel cents are widely available today. The real challenge is finding them in high grades without damage. The coin we are talking about today is in very fine condition for a steel cent. That means the details of Lincoln's hair, ear, and jawline are still visible, though they show moderate wear. The lettering is sharp, and the wheat stalks on the reverse still have some separation in their lines. However, the coin also has scratches, which lowers its appeal. Scratches on a steel cent are especially noticeable because of the silvery surface. They take away from the natural look and reduce collector interest. So what is the value of a 1943's steel penny in very fine condition with some scratches in today's market normally? A problem-free 1943S in very fine condition would be worth around 30 to 50 cents. In higher grades, such as extremely fine or about uncirculated, values can go up to $1 or $2. Uncirculated examples with full luster are often worth $3 to $10, and the very best certified coins with no spots, no scratches, and full brilliance can sell for $50 or more. On the other hand, circulated examples with damage, rust, or scratches are worth much less. A scratched 1943S in very fine condition might realistically bring around 10 to 20 cents. Since collectors generally prefer clean examples without 6T issues, it's also worth mentioning that many steel cents suffer from rust or corrosion because of their metal composition. The zinc coating was intended to protect the steel core, but once the coating wore down, the steel underneath began to rust. For that reason, finding a 1943 steel cent without corrosion is much harder than finding one with spots or surface damage. Scratches can expose the steel beneath the zinc, making it more vulnerable to rusting over time. That is why collectors value clean, bright examples so highly. The 1943 steel penny is also surrounded by myths and stories that have helped fuel its popularity. Some people confuse the common steel cent with the extremely rare 1943 copper cent, which was struck in error when a few copper planchettes from 1942 were left in the minting presses. Those rare copper pennies are worth tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on condition. However, the steel penny is the regular issue, and though it is interesting and collectible, it is far less valuable. The 1920 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and it belongs to the early part of the wheat cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. By 1920, the United States had just emerged from World War I, and the economy was shifting into the roaring 1920s. Coins like your 1920 cent were used daily in small transactions when a penny still carried real buying power. On the obverse, the coin shows Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the first U.S. president ever featured on a circulating coin. Above Lincoln's head is the motto, "In God We Trust," with liberty to the left and the date 1920 to the right. Because there is no mint mark below the date, we know this coin was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The reverse features the classic wheat ears design, with two wheat stalks curving along the left and right sides. In the center are the bold inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, with the motto E pluribus unum across the top. Your coin is described as being in good G condition with some scratches. In this grade, the coin has heavy wear from circulation. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait is still visible, but quite flat, with most of the fine details in his hair and face worn smooth. The lettering and date remain readable, though parts of the rim may be worn down. On the reverse, the wheat stalks are outlined, but lack nearly all interior detail. Scratches further lower the eye appeal, but this is very common for a coin that has been in circulation for over a century in terms of mintage. The Philadelphia Mint struck an enormous 310 million wheat pennies in 1920. This was one of the highest mintages of any early wheat cent, making the 1920 Philadelphia issue a very common date. Because so many were produced and survive today, the coin is not considered rare, especially in lower circulated grades. However, it is still an attractive piece for collectors working to complete a date set of Lincoln wheat pennies. For value, a 1920 Lincoln wheat, cent in good condition with scratches is typically worth about 10 to 20 cents in today's coin market. In higher circulated grades, such as very fine or extremely fine, values rise to 50 cents to $2. About uncirculated examples often sell for $3 to $6, while uncirculated coins begin at $10 to $15. Premium quality mint state examples with full red luster, especially those graded MS65 or higher, can reach $100 to $250 or more at auction, depending on eye appeal. The 1920 cent does not have any major rare varieties. But as with other wheat cents, there are minor die variations, such as repunched mint marks on the Denver and San Francisco issues, doubled dies, and small die breaks that can attract specialist interest. Major mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, or die cracks can significantly increase the value, sometimes selling in the $200 to $1,000 plus range, depending on severity and demand. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln Steel Wheat Penny struck at the Philadelphia Mint without mint mark. This coin is particularly interesting because of its unusual composition. as it was made from zinc-coated steel instead of copper, and it has become one of the most iconic coins of the World War II era. The example we are discussing today is in good condition, with some scratches that affect its overall appearance, but it still carries important historical value and collectible interest. The story of the 1943 steel penny begins during the Second World War, when copper was in very high demand for the war effort. Copper was essential for making ammunition, shell casings, and other military supplies. In order to conserve copper, the United States Mint decided to change the composition of the 1-cent coin for the year 1943. Instead of the usual bronze alloy, they used steel coated with a thin layer of zinc. This gave the coin a silvery, shiny appearance when it was first minted, making it look more like a dime than a penny. Millions of Americans noticed this change immediately, and the steel penny quickly became one of the most talked about coins in circulation. The design of the steel penny remained the same as earlier Lincoln wheat cents. The obverse side shows the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the words, "In God We Trust," at the top, Liberty to the left, and the date, 1943, to the right. Because this coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, it does not carry a mint mark below the date. On the reverse, 2 wheat stalks frame the words 1 cent and United States of America with the motto E pluribus unum above. The only thing different about this coin compared to earlier wheat pennies was the metallic composition, which makes it unique in U.S. history. The Philadelphia Mint struck more steel pennies in 1943 than any other mint, producing over 1 billion examples. That makes the 1943 no mint mark steel cent the most common of the 3 types produced that year. With such a massive mintage, these coins are not rare, and they can still be found in large numbers today. However, finding coins in high grades without rust or scratches can be a challenge, because the zinc coating often wore away, leaving the steel core exposed to corrosion. The coin we are focusing on today is described as being in good condition with some scratches. In coin grading, good is a lower circulated grade, meaning the coin has seen heavy use in circulation. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait will be visible, but worn, with details of the hair, cheek, and jawline mostly smooth. The inscriptions will be readable, but there will be noticeable wear across the entire design. When it comes to value, a 1943 steel penny without a mint mark is relatively inexpensive in lower circulated grades, because so many were saved and remain available. In good condition without problems, a 1943 Philadelphia steel cent is usually worth around 5 to 10 cents. In fine or very fine condition, it may bring 10 to 20 cents. Higher grade circulated examples in extremely fine or about uncirculated condition can be worth 25 to 50 cents, while uncirculated pieces with nice original luster often sell for $1 to $3. The highest grade certified examples with no spots, scratches, or corrosion can command much higher prices, sometimes reaching $20 to $50 or more for superb examples. For the specific coin we are describing here, a 1943 steel penny from Philadelphia in good condition with scratches, the value will be on the lower end. Realistically, such a coin would be worth only about 5 cents in today's market, and sometimes dealers may not even buy damaged examples because they are so common. Still, even with scratches, it holds interest as a piece of history and an authentic artifact from the wartime era. One of the reasons these coins are so memorable is because of the stories and myths surrounding them. Many people mistakenly believe that all 1943 steel pennies are extremely valuable, when in reality they are quite common. The truly rare and valuable coins from that year are the few 1943 cents that were mistakenly struck on leftover copper planchettes from 1942. Those rare copper 1943 pennies are worth tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on condition. But the steel pennies, like the one we are discussing here, are the regular issue and are much more affordable. Next up, the 1926 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, and it belongs to the earlier years of the wheat cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. By 1926, the design created by Victor David Brenner had already become a classic, with Abraham Lincoln's portrait firmly established as the centerpiece of America's most widely used coin. This issue is recognized by the absence of a mint mark beneath the date, confirming its Philadelphia origin. On the obverse, we see the familiar bust of President Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left of his profile appears the word "Liberty," while to the right is the date 1926. Because this coin lacks a mint mark, it was minted in Philadelphia. The reverse features the traditional wheat ears design, with two stylized wheat stalks arching up along both sides, enclosing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top is the phrase e pluribus unum, meaning out of, many, one. You describe your coin as being in good condition with some scratches and thick lines. In numismatic terms, good condition refers to a coin that has seen heavy circulation. The design is still visible, but details are greatly worn. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait is outlined but mostly flat, with little detail left in. The hair and facial features, the rim may be worn into the lettering. On the reverse, the wheat stalks are faint, showing only outlines, and most of the inner detail is gone. The scratches and heavy marks you mention, along with thicker wear lines, lower the coin's overall eye appeal. This is very common for coins that are nearly a century old and spent decades in circulation. In terms of production, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 157 million Lincoln wheat cents in 1926, making this date relatively common compared to scarcer early issues. As a result, circulated examples like yours are easily found in the coin market. However, coins in higher grades, especially in mint state with full red luster, far scarcer and command strong premiums among collectors for value. A1926 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark, in good condition with scratches, typically sells for around 10 to 20 cents in today's market. In higher circulated grades such as fine to very fine, the value can rise to 25 cents to $1. Extremely fine examples are often valued between $2 and $4, while about uncirculated coins may bring $5 to $10. Uncirculated mint state examples start around $15 to $30. And coins with vibrant red color graded MS65 or higher can be worth $100 to several $100s, depending on quality and demand. The 1926 cent does not have any famous major varieties, but like most Lincoln cents, specialists sometimes look for double dies, repunch dates, and other small die varieties. Rare mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, or struck-through errors can raise the value considerably, sometimes reaching $20 to $100 or more, depending on the severity of the error and collector interest. Next up, the 1944 Lincoln wheat penny with a D mint mark was struck at the Denver Mint and is one of the most well-known coins of the wheat cent series. The year 1944 holds a special place in American coin history because it was during World War II, and the U.S. Mint was making adjustments to conserve metals for the war effort. In 1943, the Mint famously struck pennies from steel coated in zinc to save copper for military use. But in 1944, copper returned, and pennies were made primarily from recycled shell casings collected from the battlefields and military stockpiles, giving these coins a direct historical link to the wartime era. The obverse features Victor David Brenner's classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the first U.S. president to appear on a circulating coin. At the top is the motto, "In God We Trust," with Liberty to the left and the date 1944 to the right. Below the date is the small D mint mark, showing it was struck at the Denver Mint. The reverse displays the familiar wheat ears design, with two stalks framing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. Across the top appears the motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Your coin is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, which suggests it has been heavily circulated and has lost some of its eye appeal. The dirt and scratches obscure parts of the design, lowering its attractiveness to collectors. In coin grading terms, this places it somewhere in the good to very good range, depending on how much of the design detail remains visible. Lincoln's bust will still be recognizable, but most fine details in the hair and beard will be worn, and the wheat stalks on the reverse will appear flattened, with little or no interior line detail left. When it comes to production, the Denver Mint struck an enormous number of 1944 wheat cents, over 430 million coins. Combined with the Philadelphia and San Francisco issues, 1944 became one of the highest mintage years for wheat cents, which makes these coins relatively common even today. Because of this, circulated examples like yours are readily available to collectors and generally do not command a high premium for value. A 1944D Lincoln wheat penny in dirty circulated condition with scratches is usually worth around 5 to 15 cents in today's market. In better circulated grades such as fine or very fine, values rise slightly to 20 to 50 cents. Extremely fine examples may reach around 75 cents to $1, while about uncirculated coins are often valued at $1 to $2. Uncirculated mint state coins can sell for $3 to $10. And those with bright red color in MS65 or higher grades may fetch $50 to $150 or more at auctions, while most 1944D cents are common. There are a few notable error varieties. The most famous is the 1944D steel cent, an accidental leftover from the 1943 steel penny production. Only a handful of these rare coins exist, and they have sold for tens of thousands of dollars. Other collectible varieties include minor doubled dies or die breaks, but those are far less valuable than the steel cent error. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln wheat penny stands out as one of the most unusual and recognizable coins ever produced by the United States Mint. Unlike nearly every other Lincoln cent, the 1943 penny was not struck in copper, but instead in zinc-coated steel. This change was made as part of the country's efforts during World War II, and as a result, the 1943 steel penny has become a favorite among collectors and history enthusiasts. The specific coin we are discussing today is a 1943 Lincoln steel penny without a mint mark, meaning it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. It is described as being in very fine condition, though it carries some scratches from circulation. Its story, combined with its condition, helps us understand its value in today's coin market. The Lincoln cent had been in circulation since 1909, created to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features Lincoln's profile, while the reverse shows two wheat stalks encircling the words 1 cent. This design lasted until 1958, and within that span, 1943 remains one of the most distinctive years because of the wartime metal change. During World War II, copper was considered a critical material for producing ammunition, shell casings, and other military supplies. To conserve copper for the war effort, the U.S. Mint experimented with alternative materials for the cent. After some testing, the government decided to strike pennies from steel planchettes plated with a thin layer of zinc. This gave the coins a bright, silvery appearance when they were first minted, leading many people to confuse them with dimes. Unfortunately, the zinc coating wore down quickly, and the underlying steel often rusted or darkened over time. Despite These problems, over 1 billion steel cents, were struck in 1943 across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. The coin in question, without a mint mark, was minted in Philadelphia, where more than 680 million were produced. This was by far the largest mintage among the three mints, making the 1943 Philadelphia steel penny the most common of the group. Even today, millions of them survive in varying grades, from heavily worn, circulated examples to bright, uncirculated coins that were saved at the time. Your coin is described as being in very fine condition with some scratches. In coin grading, very fine means the coin saw circulation but retains a fair amount of detail. On the obverse, Lincoln's hair and facial features remain visible, though lightly worn. On the reverse, the wheat stalks are clear, but finer details are flattened. Very fine is considered a mid-level circulated grade, which collectors often prefer when building affordable sets. However, scratches can lower eye appeal and slightly reduce the coin's value. Since collectors always weigh condition heavily when assigning a price, in today's coin market, a 1943 Philadelphia steel penny in very fine condition with scratches is worth around 25 to 50 cents. Without scratches, the same coin might bring closer to $1. Coins in extremely fine or about uncirculated condition can sell for $1 to $2, while uncirculated examples range between $3 and $10 depending on their brightness and surface quality. The highest premiums go to steel cents that have retained their original shiny zinc coating. Brilliant uncirculated coins certified by professional grading services can bring anywhere from $20 up to over $100 in superb gem grades. The 1943 steel penny also carries a fascinating story in terms of minting errors. A handful of coins were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchettes from 1942. These rare copper, 1943 cents, are among the most famous and valuable era coins in U.S. history, with examples selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars at major auctions. The Philadelphia Mint produced a small number of these copper 1943 cents, and they remain legendary among collectors. While your coin is steel, not copper, it still represents an important chapter of the same story. Next up, the 1934 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and it is part of the classic wheat cent series that ran from 1909 to 1958. By the mid-1930s, the Lincoln cent had already become a familiar sight in circulation for more than 2 decades, and coins like this were an essential part of daily commerce during the Great Depression. The absence of a mint mark under the date confirms it is a Philadelphia issue. On the obverse, the coin features Victor David Brenner's portrait of Abraham Lincoln, which has been used on the cent since 1909. The motto "In God We Trust" runs across the top. The word Liberty sits to the left of Lincoln's bust, and the date 1934 appears to the right. On the reverse, the coin displays the classic wheat ears design, with 2 wheat stalks along the sides enclosing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. Across the top is the motto E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many, one. Your coin is described as being in fine F condition with some scratches. In this grade, there is moderate wear from circulation. On the obverse, Lincoln's cheek and jawline are worn but still distinct, and parts of his hair and beard remain visible, though flattened. The lettering is clear, and the rims are mostly intact. On the reverse, the wheat stalks show outlines, with only traces of the inner lines visible. The scratches you mentioned slightly lower the overall eye appeal, but this is very common for coins that spent years in circulation. In terms of production, the Philadelphia Mint struck more than 219 million wheat pennies in 1934, making this a common issue. Because of its high mintage, the 1934 cent is not considered rare, especially in circulated grades, and many examples survive today. However, Coins in higher grades or those with attractive color and luster are more desirable among collectors. 4. Value: a 1934 Lincoln. Wheat penny, in fine condition with scratches, generally sells for about 10 to 20 cents in today's coin market. In higher circulated grades, such as very fine or extremely fine, values can rise to 25 cents to $1. About uncirculated examples might sell for $2 to $4, while uncirculated coins begin in the $5 to $10 range. Premium mint state examples with bright red color graded MS-65 or higher can sell for $50 to $150 or more, depending on eye appeal and demand. The 1934 wheat cent does not have any major rare varieties, but collectors sometimes look for minor doubled dies, repunched mint marks on Denver issues, or die cracks, which can add a small premium. More dramatic mint errors, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, or die break scan, bring values anywhere from $200 to $500 plus, depending on rarity and condition. Next up, the Lincoln Wheat Penny series is one of the most widely collected in the world, and every date and mint mark combination tells a different story about American history and coinage. The coin we are looking at today is the 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny with an S mint mark, meaning it was struck at the San Francisco Mint. This example is described as being in fine condition, with some scratches and a black color shade from circulation and age. To understand its place in the collecting world, we need to look at its history, its condition, and its current market value. The Wheat Penny was first issued in 1909 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first circulating U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. The obverse shows Lincoln's profile facing right, while the reverse features two stylized wheat ears framing the denomination 1 cent. This design lasted until 1958, and throughout those 50 years, billions of wheat pennies were minted. But certain years and mint marks, like the one from 1944 with an S mint mark, carry special attention among collectors. The year 1944 was especially significant for Lincoln cents. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, the U.S. Mint had experimented with striking pennies in zinc-coated steel to save copper for the war effort. However, the public disliked these coins because they rusted and looked too similar to dimes. By 1944, the Mint returned to using a copper alloy, much of which was recycled from spent shell casings and other wartime materials. This makes 1944 pennies historically meaningful, since they represent the wartime recycling effort. At the San Francisco Mint in 1944, just over 282 million wheat pennies were struck. While that number sounds enormous, it was actually much smaller than the mintage at the Philadelphia Mint, which produced over 1 billion coins that year. The S-Mint pennies are still considered common, but they are scarcer than the Philadelphia issues. Because of this, collectors generally pay more attention to the 1944 penny, especially in higher grades. Your coin is described as being in fine condition with a black color shade and some scratches. In coin grading, fine is a circulated grade where the major details of Lincoln's portrait are visible, though flattened from wear. His cheek, jaw, and hair will show smoothing, but the date, lettering, and outlines remain sharp enough to read clearly. On the reverse, the wheat stalks will have lost much of their fine line detail, though their outlines are still visible. Scratches and discoloration, such as a black shade from oxidation, further affect the coin's eye appeal. While these factors don't erase its historical importance, they do lower its value in the marketplace compared to higher grade examples. In today's coin market, a 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny in fine condition with scratches and discoloration is worth around 10 to 15 cents. Without scratches or heavy color changes, the same coin might sell closer to 25 cents. Coins in very fine to extremely fine condition can bring around 50 cents to $1. In about uncirculated condition, the value often ranges between $1 and $3. The real jump in value occurs with uncirculated examples. A 1944 penny in mint state red condition can be worth $10 to $50 depending on the grade, while certified gems at MS65 or higher can fetch over $100. The most pristine examples in full red coloration have sold for several $100 at auction. Color is especially important for copper coins, since collectors highly prize the bright red luster that the coin originally had when it left the mint. It's worth noting that while the 1944 penny is common, there are some rare varieties from that year that can be worth significantly more. The most famous error is the 1944 steel cent, a rare mistake where a few leftover steel planchettes from 1943 were used in 1944. These coins are extremely valuable, often selling for tens of thousands of dollars. However, your coin is a normal copper alloy penny, not one of these rare errors. Still, collectors often check 1944 coins closely, just in case. Next up, the Lincoln Wheat Penny series is one of the most collected coin series in the United States, and coins from the late 1940s hold a special place for collectors. Today, we will be taking a closer look at the 1949 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Penny, struck at the San Francisco Mint, identified by the S-Mint mark below the date. This coin is described as being in dirty condition with some scratches, and we'll explore its history, details, and current value in today's coin market. The Lincoln cent was introduced in 1909 to celebrate the unworldly 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. It's designed by Victor David Brenner. It was the first American coin to feature the portrait of a real person rather than a symbolic figure. The obverse displays the familiar right-facing bust of Lincoln, while the reverse shows two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This reverse design earned the coin the nickname Wheat Penny, and it remained in use until 1958, when it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design by 1949. The wheat cent had already been in circulation for 4 decades. The United States was just a few years past World War II, and the economy was booming. Pennies were an essential part of daily transactions, used for everything from a newspaper to candy or a streetcar ride. That year, 3 different mints produced Lincoln cents: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. The San Francisco Mint produced around 64 million pennies, which was a relatively small number compared to Philadelphia's mintage of over 217 million. While not rare, the 1949 is scarcer than the Philadelphia version, making it more appealing to collectors. Your coin is described as being in dirty condition with scratches, which means it falls into the category of a circulated coin. Circulated pennies typically show wear from being used in commerce, with many small marks, discoloration, or changes in surface color. In this case, a dirty appearance and scratches affect the coin's eye appeal. In coin collecting, eye appeal plays a big role in value. So scratches and dirt lower the price compared to cleaner, sharper examples. In grading terms, a circulated 1949 penny in this condition would fall somewhere between good and fine. In good condition, Lincoln's portrait is heavily worn, with most details flat, but the date and lettering still visible. In fine condition, some details of his hair and coat remain, but wear is still obvious. Scratches and surface discoloration push the value lower within these ranges. In today's market, 1949's wheat penny in circulated, dirty condition with scratches is typically worth about 5 to 10 cents. A nicer circulated example without scratches may sell for closer to 25 cents. Coins in very fine or extremely fine condition usually bring about 50 cents to $1. Once you reach about uncirculated and uncirculated grades, values rise further, often ranging from $1 to $5 depending on the coin's brightness and preservation. The greatest premiums are reserved for Uncirculated 1949's pennies with strong color. Copper coins are classified by collectors into three categories: brown, red-brown, and full red. Over time, copper naturally darkens into brown, but coins that retain much of their original red luster are more valuable. A bright red, uncirculated 1949's wheat penny can sell for $20 to $50, while high-grade certified examples in mint states 65 or higher can fetch $100 or more. The finest known examples in gem red condition have sold for several $100s at auction. It's also worth noting that 1949's pennies are not known for major mint errors. But like all Lincoln cents, some minor varieties exist. These include repunched mint marks and small die cracks. While these don't usually command huge premiums, they can increase value slightly if collectors find them appealing. Auction results confirm these values. Circulated 1949's pennies, like yours, often appear in bulk lots, selling for a few cents. Each individual coins in higher grades attract more bidders, especially if they are certified by professional grading services. Collectors working to complete a full set of Lincoln wheat cents will always need a 1949's, which helps keep steady demand for the coin. While your coin may only be worth a few cents above face value, it carries historical significance. It represents post-war America, a time of prosperity, recovery, and growth. Every scratch and mark on your coin tells the story of countless transactions, perhaps being used in San Francisco itself or circulating through towns and cities across the country. From newspapers to groceries, it played its part in the everyday lives of Americans of the late 1940s and early 1950s. Next up, the 1947 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with a D. Mint mark was struck at the Denver Mint and belongs to the later years of the wheat cent series, which ran from 1909 until 1958. By 1947, the Lincoln cent had already become one of the most familiar and trusted coins in America, widely used in daily commerce just after World War II. The small D mint mark beneath the date identifies this coin as a Denver issue. On the obverse, the design shows Victor David Brenner's famous portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, the first U.S. president ever featured on a circulating coin. Above his head is the motto, "In God We Trust." To the left of Lincoln's profile is the word liberty, while the date 1947 appears to the right, followed by the D mint mark for Denver. On the reverse, the coin carries the traditional wheat ears design, with two stylized stalks curving along the sides to frame the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top is the motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many. You describe your coin as being in very fine condition with some scratches. In numismatic terms, very fine VF indicates that the coin has moderate wear but still shows strong detail. On the obverse, Lincoln's cheekbone, jawline, and most of his hair remain visible, though slightly flattened on the high points. On the reverse, the wheat stalks show clear outlines and parts of the inner lines are still present, though worn. The scratches you mention reduce eye appeal a bit, but they are very common for circulated coins of this age. The Denver Mint produced over 194 million wheat pennies in 1947, making this a fairly common issue. Because of such a large mintage, circulated examples are plentiful in the coin market today. This means the 1947D is not considered a rare coin, though it still carries historical value as a post-war collectible. For value, a 1947D Lincoln wheat cent in very fine condition with scratches is typically worth around 10 to 20 cents in today's market. In higher circulated grades, such as extremely fine, prices may rise to 25 to 50 cents. About uncirculated examples can sell for $1 to $2, while uncirculated coins start in the $3 to $5 range. Premium mint state examples with bright red color and high grades like MS65 can bring $25 to $50. and superb examples may go higher depending on demand. The 1947 cent does not have any major rare varieties, but minor double dies, repunched mint marks, and die cracks do exist, which can add small premiums for specialists. More dramatic mint errors, such as off-center strikes, clipped planchettes, or die breaks, can raise the value considerably, often into the $20 to $100 plus range, depending on severity and collector interest. To summarize, your 1947 D. Lincoln Wheat penny in very fine condition with scratches is valued at around 10 to 20 cents in today's coin market. While common, it remains a collectible piece of U.S. history from the late 1940s, representing the post-war years when pennies like this were an essential part of everyday life. Even in circulated condition, it holds a place in completing wheat cent collections and reminds us of the enduring legacy of the Lincoln design.